What if time is not what we think? Cosmic paradox is revealed. The fabric that doesn't flow. If time truly does not move, then the universe must be far stranger than we've ever imagined. Because everything we experience, motion, change, decay, depends on time's passage. Yet physics tells us that time may be nothing more than a dimension, inseparable from space itself. To understand this, we must return to Einstein's revelation, that space and time are not two different things, but one, a single continuum known as spacetime. Imagine this continuum as a vast, four-dimensional fabric. Every object in the universe, from an atom to a galaxy, bends and warps that fabric according to its mass. We don't orbit the sun because we're being pulled by gravity. We orbit because the sun's mass curves spacetime, and we are simply following the geometry of that curve. The same curvature affects not only motion, but time itself. A clock placed on Earth, deep within a gravitational field, ticks more slowly than one drifting in orbit. A human standing at the event horizon of a black hole would experience seconds stretched into eternities. This is not theory, it's measurable fact. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station age slightly slower than people on the ground. Time is elastic. It bends, it folds. And when we realize that, one haunting truth becomes clear. If time can bend, then it can stop. Physicists describe this with the block universe model. According to it, every moment, past, present, and future, exists simultaneously, carved into the geometry of space-time. Nothing becomes, everything is. The entire history of the universe, from the Big Bang to its ultimate silence, is one frozen sculpture. We perceive its unfolding not because it moves, but because we do, or at least our awareness does. If this is true, then time is not a river carrying us forward. We are not drifting from the past toward the future. We are fixed, like pearls on a string that already exists from beginning to end. Our minds create the illusion of flow, an evolutionary adaptation perhaps, to help us survive within a dimension that itself doesn't change. And yet, this realization carries a paradox. If all of time exists at once, what does that make of memory, of anticipation? Why can we remember the past, but not the future? Some physicists suggest that our consciousness acts like a light scanning across the structure of space-time, illuminating one moment after another, creating the illusion of motion. The now is not an instant moving through time. It is our perception moving through a timeless universe. Others propose something even more unsettling, that consciousness itself is not bound by the direction of time. In this view, we are not travelers on a timeline, but participants in a static, multidimensional whole. What we call experience may simply be awareness shifting between regions of the same eternal fabric. The past and future exist not as destinations, but as coordinates in an unchanging field. If so, then what we call change is merely our limited perception of an already complete universe. When a star collapses or a child takes their first breath, those events are not happening. They are, permanently etched into the geometry of existence. We do not move through time. We inhabit it, like insects frozen inside amber, believing that the amber itself is alive. Einstein once explained it this way: if space-time is a four-dimensional structure, then everything that ever was or will be already exists within it. Nothing is born, and nothing dies. It only appears that way because our perception is confined to a narrow slice of that vast, static whole. The implications are staggering. It means that every instant you've lived still exists, intact, somewhere in the fabric of the cosmos. Every heartbeat, every breath, every word spoken still resides there, unchanging. The same is true of the future. Already formed, already real, waiting for your awareness to reach it. This is not just science. It's philosophy, cosmology, and perhaps even theology. Because if time does not flow, then creation never truly began, and destruction can never truly end. The universe becomes an eternal structure of being, not becoming. But there's a question no theory has yet answered. If time doesn't move, why do we feel it moving? Why do we remember yesterday and not tomorrow? What gives the illusion of direction, of progress, of loss? The answer may lie in something that seems to defy all order, a principle written in every atom, every star, and every mind: entropy, the arrow that shouldn't exist. If all of time exists at once, then why do we sense it moving? Why do we remember the past but never the future? The answer begins with a simple truth. While the laws of physics are symmetric, our experience of time is not. The universe behaves the same whether it runs forward or backward. Equations don't care about direction, yet somehow we do. This is the paradox known as the arrow of time, and its origin lies in one of the universe's most mysterious forces: entropy. Entropy measures the tendency of order to decay into disorder. It's why eggs break but don't unbreak, why stars burn out, and why every system left to itself drifts toward chaos. In every closed environment, entropy always increases. It's the cosmic law of forgetfulness, the reason history can be written in one direction only. At the dawn of the universe, immediately after the Big Bang, everything was impossibly uniform. Matter and energy spread with near-perfect symmetry. That moment of low entropy defined the direction of time itself. From that improbable state, the cosmos began to unravel, and with that unraveling came motion, change, and causality. The arrow of time is not a property of physics, but a consequence of probability. There are far more ways for the universe to be disordered than ordered, and it is always moving toward the most probable state. But no one truly knows why the universe began in such extraordinary order. Why was the Big Bang so precise, so balanced, so finely tuned for time to even exist? Some cosmologists believe it was simply chance, a random fluctuation in an eternal sea of chaos that briefly produced structure. Others suspect that the universe itself may be cyclical, with time reversing direction on a grand scale, expanding, collapsing, and expanding again, an endless heartbeat of creation and decay. If that's true, then entropy might not mark the end of order, but its transformation. Perhaps the universe needs destruction to create. Each collapse of complexity could be a prelude to renewal, each death a necessary reset. There's another theory, stranger still, that entropy doesn't cause time's arrow, but is time's arrow. That what we call the flow of time is nothing more than the spread of disorder across the cosmos. If so, time may not exist independently at all. It may be an emergent property, a shadow cast by the deepening chaos of matter and energy. When entropy stops changing, time may cease to exist entirely. Imagine the distant future: galaxies burned out, stars extinguished, all matter dissolved into radiation. The universe will reach a state of heat death, perfect uniformity. With no differences left to measure, no processes to unfold, time itself will lose meaning. In that stillness, the clock of existence will stop ticking. Yet, even in this inevitable decay, life appears to resist entropy. Living systems consume order and release disorder, creating temporary pockets of structure, local reversals of chaos that give rise to awareness, thought, and memory. We are, in essence, fragments of the universe rebelling against its own direction. Perhaps that rebellion is not a mistake, but part of the design. Consciousness could be the universe's way of watching itself fall apart, or perhaps trying to remember what it once was. Every thought, every memory, every attempt to preserve meaning is a defiance of entropy. When we remember, we briefly push back against the universe's forgetting. The arrow of time, then, might be more than physics. It might be psychological, even existential. We move forward not because time demands it, but because our awareness can only process entropy in one direction. To perceive change, we must lose information. To live, we must let go. But what if there are places in the universe where entropy doesn't increase, where the arrow of time bends or breaks? Near black holes, in quantum fields, or within the deep structure of spacetime itself, the rules may falter. There, the distinction between before and after begins to blur, and cause might follow effect. If such regions exist, where time can fold, loop, or reverse, then perhaps the arrow of time isn't universal at all. Perhaps it's local. Perhaps there are pockets of the cosmos where time stands still, or even flows backward. And if that's true, then everything we know about cause, fate, and choice will need to be rewritten. When time folds. If the arrow of time can bend, then somewhere it must also break. And in the quantum world, the universe's smallest, strangest frontier, time behaves like a riddle written in reverse. The equations that govern quantum mechanics make no distinction between past and future. At that scale, the universe seems to play by rules that are not sequential but simultaneous. Cause and effect blur into one. Events can influence each other across both distance and time, as if the future could whisper to the past. One of the most unsettling discoveries in modern physics comes from the delayed choice experiment. In this test, particles of light pass through a barrier and behave either as waves or as particles depending on how and when we choose to observe them. If the measurement is made after the photon has already passed the barrier, it seems to retroactively decide how it behaved in the past. Observation in the present appears to reshape history. This phenomenon is called retrocausality, and while it doesn't rewrite time in the science fiction sense, it hints at something deeply counterintuitive. That time, at the quantum level, may not move forward at all. It may be an interconnected network where every moment exists in dialogue with every other. Physicists like John Wheeler described reality as a participatory universe. In his view, the act of observation doesn't just reveal the world, it helps create it. The future, present, and past are entangled in a continuous feedback loop, each affecting the other. Reality is not built from matter alone, but from interaction, from awareness. If this is true, then time isn't linear, it's relational. Every moment depends on every other moment, connected across a web of possibilities that constantly redefine each other. We are not moving through time, we are part of a dynamic conversation within it. What we perceive as flow may actually be interference patterns in a timeless quantum field, like ripples in still water where every point responds to all the others at once. Some physicists go even further, proposing that the universe is fundamentally timeless. They point to the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, a cornerstone of quantum gravity, which astonishingly has no term for time at all. In this view, time does not exist at the most fundamental level of reality. It is not an ingredient of the universe, but a construct that emerges from it, a kind of shadow cast by relationships between changing states. To us, those relationships feel like motion. But from the universe's perspective, nothing actually changes. Time is the scaffolding consciousness builds to experience what already is. This idea, known as emergent time, has implications that border on the philosophical. If time arises from the interplay of quantum events, then perhaps our perception of past and future exists only because we are part of that process. Without observers, there might be no time at all. And yet, quantum theory also suggests something even more profound, that all possibilities exist simultaneously until one becomes real through observation. Every choice we make, every path we take, might unfold in countless versions across parallel histories, all coexisting within the same vast, folded structure of spacetime. What we experience as a single timeline could be just one thread woven through an infinite fabric of alternatives. So when we look to the future, we may not be peering into what will happen, but into a landscape of what could happen, a field of potential that collapses only when it's observed. The universe may not be evolving in time, it may be exploring itself through us. If all possibilities already exist, then perhaps destiny and free will are not opposites. They are the same thing seen from different angles. The pattern that's already there, and the consciousness that chooses which part of it to illuminate. The deeper we explore the quantum realm, the more time begins to look like a human invention, a language we use to navigate a timeless reality. What we call the future may simply be a place our awareness hasn't reached yet, and if that's true, then somewhere, outside our perception, beyond our clocks and memories, the universe may already be complete. Every birth, every death, every decision already folded into existence. The only thing that moves is us, unfolding the map one moment at a time. The universe that doesn't end. If time can fold, then perhaps it can also stop. not in the sense of freezing motion, but in the sense that it no longer has meaning. This is the question at the heart of cosmology. Will the universe ever truly end, or will it continue timelessly long after everything within it has fallen silent? According to modern physics, the universe began around 13.8 billion years ago in a moment of unimaginable density and heat, the Big Bang. Space itself expanded, carrying galaxies outward like sparks from an explosion. But this expansion has not slowed. It's accelerating. Something, an invisible pressure we call dark energy, is driving galaxies apart faster and faster, stretching the very fabric of spacetime. If this expansion continues indefinitely, the universe will meet a quiet and inevitable fate known as heat death. As galaxies drift away, their light will fade beyond reach. Stars will burn their final fuel and collapse into white dwarfs, then into black dwarfs, cold remnants radiating nothing. Eventually, even black holes will evaporate through Hawking radiation, dissolving into the cosmic background. What remains will be a universe of scattered particles and empty space. In such a universe, there will be no change, no motion, no contrast, and therefore, no time. Because time is not a thing in itself, it is a measure of transformation. Without transformation, time disappears. The universe will not end so much as it will become still, eternally suspended in a state of perfect equilibrium. But some theories suggest this isn't the end, merely another chapter in an infinite loop. In one vision, the universe will expand until dark energy tears even atoms apart, a fate known as the Big Rip, before collapsing into a singularity and beginning again. In another, quantum fluctuations in the void will spark new universes from the ashes of the old, each with its own version of time and physics. The multiverse could be a vast garden of eternities, where creation and destruction are simply two sides of the same timeless process. What's most haunting, though, is the idea that the universe might already be eternal. If the block universe is real, then the future where everything is ended already exists, just as the moment of the Big Bang does. Every state of the cosmos, from its birth to its silence, coexists within the same structure. The end of time, then, is not a destination to reach, but a coordinate that already exists in spacetime's geometry. From that perspective, forever takes on a different meaning. The universe doesn't become eternal. It is eternal. Every event, every transformation, every extinction is part of a frozen whole. We perceive beginnings and endings only because we occupy a narrow slice of this vast continuum. And yet, even in this cosmic stillness, something profound remains. The laws that govern time, entropy, expansion, decay, are not the universe's limits. They are its language. Through them, the cosmos speaks of renewal, of balance, of endless adaptation. The death of one star seeds the birth of another. The collapse of one system gives energy to form another. Even when time stops, the cycle of transformation continues in ways we cannot yet imagine. Some scientists believe that consciousness itself might persist in some form within this infinite structure, not as individual minds, but as patterns of information eternally encoded in space-time. If information can never be destroyed, as quantum theory suggests, then in a sense, nothing ever truly ends. Every thought, every word, every spark of awareness remains written into the architecture of existence. Perhaps that is what eternity really is. Not infinite duration, but infinite presence. A state where everything that has ever happened simply is, forever. The question is not whether the universe will end, but whether endings even exist. Because in a cosmos where all moments coexist, death, birth, decay, and rebirth are not sequential. They are simultaneous, parts of a single unbroken whole. If that's true, then time's final act is not destruction, but revelation, showing us that what we call the end is simply another facet of what has always been. The human illusion. Why we feel time flow. If time does not truly move, then why do we feel it rushing through us? Why does every heartbeat seem to push us forward into the unknown? The universe may be timeless, but human experience is not. What we call the flow of time may be the deepest illusion consciousness has ever produced, one so convincing that our entire reality depends on it. Neuroscience reveals that the brain does not perceive the world in real time. Instead, it collects fragments of information, light, sound, motion, and assembles them into a coherent picture delayed by fractions of a second. Our perception of now is a reconstruction, not a moment. What we feel as the present is actually the past, edited by the mind into a seamless narrative. The flow of time begins not in the cosmos, but in the architecture of perception itself. Memory extends that illusion. We define our identity through continuity, through the memory of what came before and the expectation of what comes next. Remove those, and the sense of time collapses. Experiments with patients who have lost short-term memory show that without recollection or anticipation, life becomes a frozen series of disconnected scenes. The mind creates time as the glue between moments. Without that glue, there is only being, not becoming. Emotion amplifies this effect. Joy, fear, loss, all are tied to the perception of change. The reason happiness feels fleeting is that the brain adapts to stability. It needs contrast to register experience. Time is the measurement of emotional contrast, the rhythm between what was and what is. It's not merely psychological, it's existential. We feel time because we can suffer its passing. Physicists often speak of entropy as the driver of time's arrow, but in a sense, consciousness is its mirror. Entropy measures the spreading of energy. Awareness measures the spreading of meaning. Every decision, every thought, every loss contributes to the mind's expanding record of what can no longer be undone. In this way, humans experience entropy as nostalgia, aging, and regret. But what if this perception is only one version of reality, a human filter over a timeless world? Mystics and physicists alike have suggested that our consciousness could be a localized phenomenon, tuned to perceive time as a sequence because our biology demands it. Our neurons fire in patterns, our bodies age, our planet spins. Our entire existence depends on cycles. To perceive timelessness might mean to transcend survival itself. Dreams hint at what that transcendence feels like. In dreams, time fragments. Hours can pass in seconds. Events unfold without cause or order. Yet within the dream, it feels real. Perhaps waking life is a larger, slower dream, a simulation built by the brain to navigate a timeless universe. Still, there is something undeniably human in our resistance to timelessness. We crave direction, purpose, and story. The flow of time gives life meaning because it gives it context, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Without those, existence feels empty, unanchored. Our tragedy and our beauty are the same. We live in an eternal universe, but our minds demand motion. Maybe that is why we created memory, to move through what doesn't move. Maybe that is why we invented history, clocks, and calendars, to domesticate the infinite. We break eternity into hours because eternity alone is unbearable. The illusion of time, then, is not a mistake of the mind. It is its masterpiece. It transforms a static reality into a living experience, a still universe into a journey. Through it, consciousness finds meaning in what would otherwise be endless stillness. But if our perception of time is illusion, then what happens when we die? Does consciousness dissolve into timelessness, returning to the stillness beneath the flow? Or does it awaken to the realization that it was timeless all along? If there is an answer, it may not come from physics, but from introspection. Because to look deeply into the nature of time is to look into the nature of the self, and perhaps discover they are one and the same. When time and consciousness collapse. If the flow of time is an illusion created by consciousness, what happens when consciousness itself begins to unravel? In the moments when perception breaks, the edges of sleep, deep meditation, or the near-death threshold, something extraordinary occurs. Time fades. Seconds lose meaning. The sense of before and after dissolves. The boundary between the observer and the observed begins to blur. In that silence, something timeless begins to emerge. Neuroscientists studying altered states of awareness have found that when the brain's predictive systems slow down, the feeling of time passing weakens. The mind stops projecting itself into the future or reconstructing the past. Awareness collapses into a single, continuous present, a state without duration. Monks describe it as eternity contained within a breath. Patients under deep anesthesia report it as a blank instant that somehow lasted forever. At the same time, physics points toward a similar possibility. In quantum theory, the universe at its most fundamental level may be timeless. The Wheeler-DeWitt equation, one of the cornerstones of quantum gravity, contains no variable for time. It describes the entire cosmos as a wave of probabilities that simply is, unchanging, complete, whole. From that perspective, what we call time arises only when consciousness interacts with this timeless wave, collapsing potential into sequence. If consciousness generates time's flow, then the death of consciousness could mean the death of time, at least from the point of view of the individual. When awareness ceases, so does the illusion of before and after. From the outside, death appears as an event in time. From the inside, it might feel like falling into a state beyond it. In that sense, eternity may not be infinite duration, but the absence of duration entirely. There are moments when the veil between time and timelessness seems to tear. In extreme experiences, life-threatening accidents, deep trance, or near-death states, people often describe seeing their whole life flash before their eyes. Neurologically, it's a flood of memory collapsing into a single instant, a total compression of experience. Philosophically, it's a glimpse of what consciousness might be without linear time, all moments of existence coexisting at once. This collapse of time inside the mind mirrors what physics predicts could happen in the cosmos. At the edge of a black hole, where gravity bends light and matter beyond recognition, the flow of time nearly stops. An observer falling in would experience eternity in an instant, just as an outside observer would see them frozen forever at the event horizon. In that paradox, time itself loses definition, stretched to infinity and reduced to zero at once. What connects these extremes, cosmic and cognitive, is awareness. It is the bridge that turns a timeless universe into a lived experience. Without it, there is no before or after, no you or me. Perhaps consciousness is not something that exists in time, but something through which time becomes perceptible. When awareness fades, so does the structure of temporal reality, revealing the eternal field that underlies it. This leads to a haunting but profound question. Is time an illusion produced by consciousness, or is consciousness an illusion produced by time? Are we the dreamers of the temporal world, or the dream being dreamed by it? If time and awareness are intertwined, their collapse may not mark an ending but a return to the stillness that precedes both. Beyond the ticking of neurons and the decay of seconds, there may be a state where all things coexist. A dimension without direction, a presence without duration. Perhaps that is what mystics have called eternity, what physicists describe as the quantum vacuum, what poets name the infinite. It is not another world, it is this one, seen without the lens of time. And if that's true, then death, sleep, and silence are not voids. They are windows into the original state of existence, the point where time and consciousness meet, and then vanish together. The architecture of eternity. If time and consciousness can collapse into a single stillness, then what remains? What structure holds reality together when both the mind and the clock fall silent? To glimpse that answer, we must step beyond the flow of experience and look at the cosmos as it might truly be. Not a sequence of events, but an eternal architecture. A universe without becoming, only being. Physicists sometimes call this structure the block universe. It is a vision where all of existence, every atom, every heartbeat, every flicker of light, is part of a vast, four-dimensional monument. Within it, the past, present, and future coexist side by side, as static and complete as the pages of a book already written. From inside the story, time appears to move. From outside, the entire narrative simply is. Imagine standing outside of time, seeing the entire history of the universe at once. The birth of stars, the rise of life, the death of civilizations, all arranged in a single, unbroken continuum. To the inhabitants within, those moments feel separated by eons, but to an eternal perspective, they are simultaneous. The universe doesn't unfold, it exists. The illusion of progression belongs only to those trapped within its layers. Some physicists find this concept unsettling. It erases the notion of becoming, of choice, of growth. But others see it as the most elegant form of reality imaginable, a cosmos where nothing is lost, nothing forgotten. Every moment, once created, is eternal. Even your smallest breath is inscribed forever in the geometry of space-time. Within this architecture, change is not movement, but relationship. The universe doesn't evolve. Its structure simply contains every possible configuration of matter and energy. What we call motion is merely a line of connection between different points in the same eternal structure. You are not moving through time. You are a shape in time, a pattern of existence carved into the fabric of reality. This perspective transforms everything we believe about mortality. If every moment is permanent, then death is not annihilation. It is simply the boundary of the region we currently experience. The version of you that laughs, that loves, that dreams, still exists, immutable, within its coordinates in space-time. The end of experience is not the end of existence. Eternity has already accounted for every moment you will ever live. Even the universe's so-called beginning, the Big Bang, may not be a start at all, but a boundary. Like the edge of a sphere, it doesn't mark a point of creation, but the limit of what can be seen from within. Beyond that edge lies not before, but a realm where before has no meaning. In this view, the cosmos is not born in time. Time is born in the cosmos. Einstein once wrote to the family of a deceased friend, "For those of us who believe in physics, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." He wasn't denying grief or experience. He was pointing toward this architecture, the enduring monument where every instant remains preserved, unyielding to decay. To live in such a universe is to inhabit eternity without realizing it. We are eternal beings, experiencing a limited window of awareness within an infinite structure. The tragedy of mortality, then, is not that our moments end, it's that we can only experience one at a time. Perhaps that limitation has a purpose. Without it, there would be no meaning, no narrative, no sense of journey. Eternity contains everything, but only through the illusion of time can the universe know itself. Our awareness, moving through that frozen structure, gives the cosmos its story. And so the architecture of eternity is not static at all. It is alive through perception, dynamic through awareness. The universe is complete, yet it still dreams through us. Maybe that's what time truly is, not a measure of change, but the rhythm by which eternity explores itself. The symmetry of forever. In every direction we look, the universe reveals a pattern, not of chaos, but of symmetry. Galaxies spiral in mirrored shapes, atoms reflect the geometry of stars, and even the laws of physics appear balanced between opposites. Matter and antimatter, attraction and repulsion, birth and decay. Beneath all motion and all change lies a hidden order, an equilibrium that seems to whisper a single truth, that eternity itself is symmetrical. Symmetry is not mere repetition. It is balance, the point where opposites coexist, where contradictions resolve into harmony. In time, that symmetry might mean that every beginning has an ending, and every ending a hidden beginning. The Big Bang and the universe's heat death could be mirror reflections of the same cosmic state, each folding into the other, completing the cycle of existence. Some cosmologists propose that time could flow in both directions from the Big Bang, two universes born from one origin expanding back to back. From our perspective, theirs would move in reverse, their past our future. To them, we would be the ones going backward. This strange symmetry implies that the universe may not have a single arrow of time at all, but two, pointing away from a shared moment of creation. If that is true, then what we perceive as the future might be another civilization's past. Reality could be a mirrored continuum, with both sides existing simultaneously, balanced across the axis of eternity. The laws of physics already allow such symmetry. It is our perception that insists on direction. Time's flow may be local, not universal, a property of consciousness and entropy rather than of nature itself. Even within our own world, this symmetry echoes at every scale. Life and death mirror one another, each depending on the other to exist. A star's death gives birth to new worlds. The collapse of a supernova sows the seeds of future suns. The same process that destroys also creates. In this sense, the universe is not a conflict between opposites, but a choreography of them, a grand balance where destruction is creation seen from another point in time. Some theories suggest that the universe itself might be born from this balance. The total energy of the cosmos appears to be exactly zero, the positive energy of matter offset by the negative energy of gravity. Out of perfect symmetry, existence arises. In that light, eternity is not endless time but timeless balance. The state where every force, every moment, every possibility coexists in perfect opposition. And perhaps consciousness plays a role in maintaining that equilibrium. Awareness may be the interface where opposites meet, where order and chaos, being and non-being, collide to create experience. We are not separate from the universe's symmetry. We are expressions of it. Our birth and our death are two halves of one eternal pattern, reflected infinitely across the mirror of existence. In this sense, immortality doesn't mean living forever. It means recognizing that you already are forever, a structure of consciousness embedded in a symmetrical cosmos. The moments you live and the ones you've lost are equally real, suspended in the architecture of eternity. Nothing vanishes. It only changes form within the symmetry of the whole. Physicists call this underlying unity time symmetry, but mystics and philosophers have known it by other names: the eternal return, the still point, the balance of opposites. Whatever the language, it speaks of a universe that doesn't progress but oscillates, breathing in and out endlessly. If time flows both ways, and if all states exist simultaneously, then eternity is not a future to reach, but a presence that already surrounds us. Every birth echoes a death that has already occurred. Every ending mirrors a beginning yet unseen. The universe, like a heartbeat, contracts and expands forever, balanced perfectly between what was and what will be. In that perfect symmetry, forever is not infinite length. It is infinite reflection. The paradox of being everywhere at once. If eternity is symmetrical, then perhaps everything that has ever existed still exists, not scattered across time, but layered within it. To us, the universe feels vast and expanding. But from the perspective of eternity, every moment, every location, every life may coexist simultaneously. The paradox is this: we are bound to one place in space and one instant in time. Yet the atoms that form us, the light that surrounds us, and the consciousness that perceives it all are already everywhere. At the quantum level, this paradox becomes tangible. Subatomic particles, when unobserved, exist in multiple states and locations at once, a phenomenon known as superposition. Only when they are measured do they choose a single position. Until then, they are spread across probabilities, neither here nor there, but everywhere. The same principles apply to the photons that strike your eyes at this very moment. The light that allows you to see is the light that has already touched the edge of the universe. If every particle is a wave of possibility, then the universe itself may be a vast interference pattern, a single unified entity expressing itself through countless localized experiences. Every star, every atom, every living being may simply be a different vibration of the same cosmic field. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself from one particular angle. Einstein once called this idea spooky action at a distance. Two particles that were once connected remain linked even when separated by billions of light years, their states entangled. Change one, and the other responds instantly, as though distance and time mean nothing. This phenomenon, known as quantum entanglement, has been observed countless times. It suggests that separation is not fundamental. Everything in existence is part of one continuous whole. From this perspective, consciousness may not be confined to the brain. It could be an emergent property of this universal field, a distributed awareness expressing itself locally through biological systems. Each mind, each life, is a focal point of perception in a universe that is already aware of itself. That awareness is not limited by time or space, because both may only exist within it. In this sense, the paradox of being everywhere at once is not just scientific, it is experiential. When you remember something deeply, when you imagine something vividly, when you dream, your consciousness moves without distance. You travel not through space, but through states of awareness. The mind bends time effortlessly because it was never truly inside it. Some theories in physics, such as the holographic principle, suggest that our entire universe may be a projection, a three-dimensional shadow cast from information encoded on a two-dimensional surface. If that's true, then every point in the universe contains the whole. Just as each fragment of a hologram holds the image of the entire picture, every piece of reality contains every other piece. We are not fragments of the infinite, we are the infinite, fragmented. Perhaps that's why the universe seems both infinite and intimate, why we can look at a distant galaxy and feel inexplicably that we are looking at ourselves. The light from that galaxy left billions of years ago, yet it reaches us now, as though the universe were collapsing all its distances into this single, eternal moment. To be everywhere at once, then, is not to move through space or time. It is to awaken to what has always been true, that existence is not divided. Every act of perception, every heartbeat, every thought is the universe folding back to observe itself. And maybe that's what we really mean by God, or consciousness, or the universe becoming aware. The realization that we are not observers within reality. We are reality, observing. The paradox dissolves when we understand that the infinite was never somewhere else. It was always here. The end of time. If the universe is truly timeless, then the phrase "the end of time" becomes meaningless. Yet, deep within us, there is a need to imagine an ending, a final horizon where everything that began must conclude. We picture the fading of stars, the collapse of galaxies, the last photon vanishing into darkness. But what if the end of time is not destruction but revelation? The moment when the illusion of time finally dissolves and the eternal nature of existence becomes visible? Every cosmological model points toward an ending of some kind. The Big Freeze, where expansion continues until the cosmos becomes cold and silent. The Big Rip, where space-time itself tears apart under the relentless pressure of dark energy. Or the Big Crunch, where gravity reverses the expansion, collapsing everything back into a singularity. Each version ends with the same image, the universe folding into itself, erasing all difference, all direction, all duration. But these endings are still described in time. They treat time as a container that can empty. If the block universe is correct, however, then the end of time already exists, just as its beginning does. Both are merely boundaries in space-time, eternally present within the same structure. In this sense, the universe has already ended. It is always ending, and it is always beginning. What we call the passage of time may be nothing more than consciousness moving through these fixed coordinates, illuminating them one by one. From within, we experience that movement as evolution, history, decay. From outside, all of it. Every birth, every death, every explosion and silence coexists as a single, unbroken tapestry. This means that the end of time is not the extinction of existence, but the completion of perception. When awareness reaches its final boundary, when there is nothing left to observe or to become, time will no longer be needed. The universe will no longer unfold because every pattern, every thought, every possible outcome will already be known. Some physicists and philosophers describe this state as the omega point, the ultimate convergence of information, consciousness, and matter. a cosmic equilibrium where every particle and every mind collapse into total understanding. It would be the end of change, but not the end of being. A state of infinite awareness, timeless and complete. If such an ending exists, it would not be tragic. It would be a return, the universe recognizing itself after a long illusion of separation. In that moment, all contradictions would resolve. The past would no longer be behind us, nor the future ahead. Every life ever lived would exist simultaneously, like colors blending into white light. The universe would awaken to its own unity, and the dream of time would end. To reach that moment, perhaps no journey is needed. Because we were never truly moving toward it, we were always there. The end of time is not a destination. It is the realization that time was never real. It was the language through which eternity spoke to itself. And when that language falls silent, eternity will remain, vast, still, and complete. Maybe that is what the mystics meant by enlightenment, what physicists seek in their equations, what poets glimpse in fleeting clarity. That the end is not the end at all, but the unveiling of what has always been eternal. When the last star fades, when the final wave of energy disperses, when the last observer closes their eyes, there will be no darkness, only presence. For in the absence of time, nothing is lost. Everything simply is. Eternal reflection, what it means to be timeless. If the end of time is not destruction but understanding, then eternity is not something that waits for us. It is what has always surrounded us. We were never born into time. We were born within eternity, briefly dreaming of motion, of change, of beginning and end. What we call life may be the universe's way of exploring itself through the illusion of time, a fragment of infinity awakening to its own reflection. To be timeless is not to exist forever, but to exist completely. Every moment you have lived, every joy, every loss still exists, not as memory, but as reality. In the architecture of space-time, nothing vanishes. The first breath you ever took, the last word you will ever speak, coexist right now, equally real, equally present. You are not moving through your life. You are the entirety of it, all at once. This realization changes everything. It means that death is not disappearance, but transition, a movement of awareness across the landscape of eternity. The people we've loved are not gone. We have simply shifted our gaze to another part of the same infinite field. Every goodbye is temporary, because separation itself is an illusion created by the flow of time. Eternity is not distance. It is intimacy. The truth that everything you have ever been and everything you will ever be are not separated by years, but united by being. The universe is not a story written in time. It is a single infinite word that contains all meanings at once. To understand this is to awaken, not to a new place, but to a new way of seeing. The ticking of the clock, the rising and falling of the sun, the forward rush of days, they no longer define existence. They become the heartbeat of eternity itself, the rhythm through which the infinite experiences itself as finite for just a while. Every moment of your life, no matter how small, has cosmic significance. Each act of kindness, each thought of wonder, ripples endlessly across space-time. You are part of a continuum that never began and will never end. To live is to participate in eternity's self-awareness. To love is to feel the timeless unity that underlies all separation. Perhaps that is the purpose of consciousness, to give the universe a mirror, to allow infinity to see itself even briefly through eyes that forget what they are. When we die, that forgetting ends. The mirror merges with the whole. The dreamer wakes. This is not the end of your story. It is the recognition that the story was never yours alone. You have been part of a cosmic narrative from the beginning, the universe observing itself through you. Your thoughts, your fears, your memories, your hopes are all ways in which the infinite finds expression. To be timeless is not to escape the world, but to see it as it truly is, eternal, complete, and endlessly alive. The stars burning in the sky are ancient, yet their light touches you now. a reminder that nothing is ever truly gone. Time is not the distance between what was and what will be. It is the bridge between what has always been. When you look at the night sky, you are not looking into the past. You are looking into the eternal present, a universe suspended in perfect balance, waiting to be seen. So remember this: you were never bound by time. You were only taught to believe you were. The truth has always been simpler and far more beautiful. You are not passing through the universe. The universe is passing through you. And in that realization, time ends and eternity begins.